In this lesson, we'll bring our attention to rigging the right arm. Being that our left arm and right arms are different, okay, that is definitely noticeable, we'll just set up a whole new chain for this right arm. So we can go to our top view for that and begin drawing out the chain. So that's going from the base of the arm to the elbow. We'll even add a forearm twist because that's going to be possible on this side. And then we'll end by drawing out our wrist bone, where the wrist would more than likely be. And then we could hit enter to set that. From there, we can go ahead and reposition this, and it might even be better to do that in the front view. So we can hide our grid and bring up our chain. So that's going to be centered, just about centered within the arm. From there, we're ready to work on renaming these objects. So, staying consistent with our naming scheme, the arm is BN_R arm. Another great thing about staying consistent with naming conventions is that when it comes to, let's say, working with the expressions, if we were to, let's say, set up an arm control, okay, let's say if we were able to have fingers on this right side with this character, and we needed to set up the twist the same way we did the left side. Well, with the consistency of our naming convention, all we need to do is switch our L on the left side to an R on the right side, rather than changing the whole entire name. So you can see how that can save us time. For the elbow, we'll go ahead and label that. And for the twist, we're going to be doing something slightly different with this twist bone. So we'll get to that very soon. That's going to be twist 01. And then for the wrist bone here, that's going to actually be BE, since it will not be enveloped. And we can call this wrist. Wonderful. Okay, so now that this is done, we know that this arm bone should be parented under the chest, so we can go ahead and take care of that now. We also know that we want controls for this. So we can start by going to our IK handle, connecting from our arm to the forearm twist, and then go into our hypershade, and if you like, you can even add that to your shelf as well. So we'll hold Control Shift, go to Windows, Render Editors, Hypershade, select. I'll bring this over. Can view its input-output connection, select the effector, go to our Move tool, go to Pivot Mode, hold V, and snap. Great. Now that that's done, coming out of pivot mode, we can go back to the IK handle, okay, and then move it, and it's just fine. Great. So now that that's done, we can close out the hypershade, and we'll label this IK handle RP R arm. Once that has been done, we can work on a control object for this arm to constrain the IK handle to. And rather than using a diamond control or a box control, what we can actually use is a locator for this. So if we went up to create and went down to locator, here's our locator within our scene. Very small, but let's go ahead and increase its size. We'll just scale it up. Okay, and then we can move it into place. Okay. So we could possibly bring this size down to, let's say, 20 for scale X, Y, and Z. Now, from here, we can even lock this. We can lock our scale and visibility, lock and hide. Now, something important about freezing transformations with the locator, you may have run into a case where the locator snaps back to its original shape if you've moved its scale when you freeze transformation. So what I usually like to do is determine the scale for this and then lock and hide it from there. That's what we've just done. And then just freeze the rotation and translation if we need to. So we can always go ahead and do that now. And if you don't want to see any of the shape information, you just select it all, right click, and simply hide it. Alrighty. So now we can rename this. we can call this LC for locator control, since it's not a curve, underscore R underscore arm, 0, 1. And this is going to be as simple as taking the IK handle, which we'll find, there it is, and constraining it to the locator via a point constraint. No need to orient constraint. So we select the locator first, control click our IK handle, and do a point constraint. So now with the locator selected, we can move that just fine. Okay, well, that's it for our arm control. We can set up an elbow control. So let's do that. We'll select our elbow control. We can duplicate this from the left side. Just select the translate X. Okay, all we need to do is move its translate X position, hold V, and middle click our elbow bone on the right side. Okay, so from here we can just clean its translation going to our script editor. Again, we'll just highlight all the way to our translate 1. The 1 tells us that we'd like to, yes, clean up our translation, and press Control Enter. Great. Now we can either minimize or close out the script editor, and we can work on renaming this. That's CCR elbow 0, 1. We can work on recoloring it. So that's going to be a color of red. Okay, and now we'll work on making sure it's connected. So that's selecting the object, control clicking our IK handle in the outliner, and going to a pole vector constraint. So now we're able to move it just fine. Alright, excellent. So now that these things are done, let's make sure that our objects are going to go in the right place. For the elbow control, that should already be where it needs to go under the control object, since we duplicated it again from an object that is also tied to this group. For the locator, we know that that's going to go under control object, so we'll put it there, and then the IK handle that goes in the IKs group. Alrighty, well, now that that's done, what we're going to do is stop the lesson here, and the next lesson we'll make sure that we set up our twist control.